During an interview with Fox News host Mark Levin that aired this past weekend, Donald Trump gave Jim Jordan a compliment. Actually praised Jim Jordan. But the compliment was actually so bad that it somehow makes Jim Jordan look even worse than he already does. Because what Donald Trump had done, and I'll read you the quote in just a moment, but Trump had compared himself to Richard Nixon and said, the difference between him and Nixon was that Nixon didn't get along with Congress, which is why they were going to kick him out. But luckily, Trump has good old folks like the, quote, great Jim Jordan that have his back. So you basically compared yourself to a criminal that Republicans love to not talk about, pretend he didn't exist. And then you say that luckily you have people willing to defend your criminal actions like Jim Jordan. Because, if you didn't, probably would have met a similar fate to Nixon. But thank God for Jim Jordan, right? He doesn't care about your corruption. He thinks you're just the bee's knees and he's going to do whatever he can to protect you, which doesn't say much to Jim Jordan's character at all. Jim Jordan, by the way, does have a history of protecting people doing horrible things, as I'm sure everybody is aware. Here's what Donald Trump said to Mark Levin. I'll never forget when that happened, we had such great support. Nixon had no support, comparing the impeachment of Trump to the potential incoming impeachment of Nixon that was happening at the time. He just didn't have support. He was very, very tough with people. I get along with people. I have great Jim Jordan and all these congressmen are great. They're really incredible people. Nixon didn't get along with the people in Congress. He didn't get along with the senators. But the fact is, we have some great people in the Republican Party, but I get along with them and they stuck together. They stuck together to defend you from your criminal activities. You were impeached. You just weren't technically convicted, so I guess we can't actually call you a criminal. You're alleged criminal activities. And that's why they're so darned great, right? They didn't care about the corruption. They didn't care about the Capitol riot and the destruction that you caused. Both physically and mentally on the nation. Nope. People like Jim Jordan stuck up for me and said, we care more about you than we do the very fabric of the United States of America. Again, not exactly the kind of compliment you want to get, right? Because you're also pointing out not just how corrupt Jim Jordan is and where his priorities lie, which is protecting Trump, not the American public. You're also reminding the public that there was a time when Republicans did hold their own accountable. Because Trump continued talking about Nixon. They went over there one evening. Barry Goldwater headed up the delegation, and they had some senators and some congressmen, and they went over to tell him he's got to get out. And he left the following day or the following morning, and his biggest regret was that he didn't fight because it wasn't really like him. And I find that very interesting. He was a very tough guy. He was. I guess some people would say this about me too. He was his own worst enemy. I can say that a little bit about myself, much less so than people think, I will say. Stop comparing yourself to other criminals. Especially when you've been indicted on criminal charges, not civil charges, like what the New York Attorney General's hit you with. Those are civil. You've been indicted on criminal charges. You could literally, it's not impossible to think in your future jail is there. And you're like, well, I'm just kind of like Nixon. I'm sure every Republican in the country is thinking could just shut the F up right now. Stop talking. You're making it so much worse. And I'm sure Jim Jordan is probably publicly I got a compliment from Trump. Yay. But in the back of his mind, he's like, dear God, can you please leave me out of any discussion about Nixon? Can you please not point out that I'm excusing all of your horrid behavior? Even though it's against the best interest of the United States for me to do so, if you could just knock that off, that'd be super duper. But it's good that Donald Trump pointed this out because it is worth reminding people. Our chairman of the House Judiciary Committee is one of many Republicans who stood up in front of the entire United States and said Donald Trump's corruption is okay, and our loyalty to him is more important than our loyalty to the Constitution. They may not have used those words, but by God, through their actions, that is exactly what Jim Jordan told us. And that's exactly what Donald Trump wanted to remind us of. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share, but again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.